Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kyle and the channel's called Kyle by the Creek. You're gonna wanna watch this episode, everyone. We have a pretty big tractor here. This is a Cadet Super-LT1554. It's got a 54-inch mowing deck and a 27 horsepower V-twin Kohler engine. I just did a lot of work to this thing. It's no beauty queen, but I really love the way it turned out and the engine's running excellent. So I think you're really gonna like this project, and I'll take you back in time to the first day I started working on it. Yeah, sounds pretty rough. Fired right up though, but I'm pretty sure it's just running on one cylinder. Well, it's pretty annoying that this hood doesn't stay open, so I might look to remove it here. If we get this thing finished up, we're gonna have to replace these lifters anyway. Making pretty good use of a broom here. All right, I've never removed one of these hoods, but my guess is these two. They look like 10 millimeter, and then you have, I don't know, your choice. You could go with the top or the bottom of those lifters. I'll probably go with the top. We'll see if those 4 bolts gets us a removed hood. That was pretty loose. Same with that. I lost that nut. Well, I thought that might do it, but something else is holding it on. All right, got it removed. Had to take off like all the inside stuff. Still left with, you know, what the lifters would lift up. Somehow you have to get on the interior to get these, but you can't really do that with the hood attached, so I think that's the way to do it. Lost a couple things down in here. There's one. I'd like to get that lifter nut. It might be a hard one to find. Anyway, at least we got one. So I want to get the engine cover off to investigate oil leaks, lack of spark. This is a big source of oil that's not connected at all, so the breather's just dumping stuff. There's no leaking around the dipstick, but this dipstick is not anchored to anything. I can't quite understand it. You would think it would thread into there, but it doesn't. Even if you turn it around, you gotta trust me, it doesn't, that bolt hole doesn't line up. Like, is this the wrong dipstick? I don't really know. Why would it just sit there like that, not bolted? But it wasn't, so I don't know, I'll have to look into that. Yeah, we'll get everything off this, see what we have for a mouse nest, see what we have for chewed wires. I have a feeling it's chewed wires is why the spark is bad. Because from what I remember working on this thing when I first got it, was the spark was intermittent. Sometimes we had 2 cylinders. Lots of bolts. Alright. No mouse nest. That's a nice sign. This coil, oh, I don't know, the kill wire is like barely attached to it. This orange wire is hanging out, which I don't think that's a big deal. Kohlers have stuff like that. Can't remember which one was bad now. Might have to start this engine up. it's running on 2 cylinders. I mean, obviously we have this oil leak over here. I don't think this side, well, it is leaking something. Yeah, I mean, I know with these Kohlers, everyone's saying I have blown head gaskets, so maybe we could take the heads off and see what we have. That's a lot of investigation. We could do compression tests, or we could do a leak down test, although I don't have a leak down tester. And the other reason it might be running poorly is the carburetor. Just needs to be cleaned. Just about 120. Well, this side is much better, closer to 150. Alright, well, I'm diving more into this. I found that there was one nut off of the exhaust, so this exhaust was hung on by just one loose nut. So then I come over here, I get the PTO off, and we're missing an engine mount bolt. This one I've started to remove, but yeah, things are, I don't know, looking like this was very much tampered with. Alright, so we're starting to get somewhere. Governor plate off, some of the air guides off. But it really looks like you need to get the flywheel off in order to get these air guides off. Now, could I get the heads off without getting these? It kind of looks like it. You could bend them, you know? So maybe I'll do that. I don't really want to take the flywheel off. Maybe I'll just go with this. Alright, so those will be a little bit in our way, and you know, I gotta get in there and clean these things, but yeah, I mean, does kind of look like a head gasket is the issue here on both sides. It's definitely oily right by the head gasket. So let's just keep prying at this thing. Okay, just remove the rockers, and let's pop this head off. Definitely looks oily right there. Doesn't look bad on the inside, but got a whole bunch of grit in there. Yeah, I don't know. Here you can see, yeah, we had oil going right there. So yeah, that was blown. Let's get this other head. Let's take a look. I mean, it's really oily right there. So, yeah, it's not great. You know, there's no turning back once you start taking the heads off. You're doing a head gasket, but yeah, it's funny. It's not blown on that side, but definitely there. Alright, gotta get all this grit out of here. Alright, just clean these off. I mean, this is a ton of work to get to these head gaskets. Yeah, I'm a little impressed that it's this much work, but yeah, hopefully this solves all the problems and this is a nice healthy engine. I mean, we had, I don't know if I told you, something like 440 hours on this engine. So plenty of life left, but you know, it had hours on it. And yeah, we're gonna have to order some parts. And we're back the next day. We have some strong sun, so I'm gonna power wash this machine. Just covered in grease, as you guys see. Fuel line leaking in my driveway. I bought a bunch of parts yesterday, so some of them are gonna arrive tomorrow. Getting 2 new coils. So interestingly, I noticed the coils were different, and they're not supposed to be. Let's remember to hang on to this. Yeah, the coils are different and they're not supposed to be, and that one of those wires that I saw that was disconnected, there's supposed to be 2 wires going to each coil. So the previous owner replaced the coil with the wrong one, and remarkably was still getting spark. But yeah, so we'll get that remedied, but let's get this thing cleaned up. Yeah, this thing was absolutely filthy. Kind of wonder how long that engine was leaking that much oil. A few days later here, we have our head gaskets, as well as air filter. I bought 2 coils. I don't know if I've explained this, but the coils that are supposed to be on this machine have 2 tabs. If you remember, one of our coils had 1 tab. This is a replacement, or someone just put that on. Here's the other one. So that explains why I had a missing wire there. And you can see it's kind of a different coil. So that could also be some run problems. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and just buy 2 matching coils that are supposed to be on there. Oil filter, spark plug, fuel filter, all that other good stuff. So let's start with the head gaskets. We'll get these installed. Oh yeah, like exhaust gaskets, intake gaskets, some nuts, washers. I don't know, kit came with a whole bunch of stuff. And I can't remember if I showed you this, so you might be seeing it again. Got everything cleaned up, all the surfaces nice and clean. Same with the heads there on the ground. I'll make sure there's no debris on them. But yeah, it's gonna be quite a process putting this all back together, especially when it comes to this governor linkage. That's no fun, but got to start somewhere, so let's get the heads installed. Alright, going pretty well up until here, except that I forgot to install these dowels. There's 2 on each head that help center the head and the head gasket. I'm actually not too sure how important that is, but I'm just gonna go ahead and undo what I did and get those installed. It won't take too long. They go here. Same with the other side, which I haven't done yet. Okay, I believe I have most of this set up correctly now. Well, the heads are put back together if I didn't say all that, but I'm on to the governor and the exhaust. So we have a new exhaust gasket. And then the kit actually came with new bolts. So we'll put the bolts on too. And I'll do this on both sides, obviously. But just showing you a little update and some progress. Alright, skipping around a little bit, but I secured this. Just took some vacuum hose and cut off about like an inch of it. Ripped off the old grommet and made that into a new grommet. So that's on there just fine now. Carburetor's on, air box is on, intake, choke, governor, throttle linkages, springs, all that's connected, exhaust pipes, new gaskets, some of the heat, well, all the heat shields that are underneath here. Yeah, actually I guess all the heat shields are on. I need the engine cover, some final bolts that will secure the heat shields with the cover on. Yeah, we're getting there. Let's get it installed at least on the frame of the tractor. Well, it's been a long couple of hours. I am dirty and greasy, and I'm ready to hear this thing run. Hopefully I have everything hooked up correctly. We'll find out. Well, battery. Oh, you know what? I did leave the key switch on. That makes sense. Yeah, I just noticed that when I was putting the starter connector back on that I had the key switch on this whole time. The whole time that I had the engine apart. Just burning off some schmutz on the, you can see some oil gobs are landing on the exhaust pipes right now, but yeah, I'm not surprised by some smoke right now. It is not throttling up all the way. That's full throttle, so that's a little funny. Yeah, I can easily make some adjustments down there where the throttle cable is. Hopefully that does it. All right, let's try it again. Don't mind the chain hoist in the way. I just got it up so I can adjust the throttle cable. that's a lot better. It probably can come up some more, but we'll test it with that for now. All right, we're gonna do our engine service now. And I adjusted the throttle one more time, and I can actually do even more. So I'm not too worried about it. I think we'll get the RPMs right where we need them. I wonder if that's like, is that supposed to be secured somehow, or just tightened on with the oil filter? I don't see any bolts. That's pretty interesting. I'm gonna look into that. Yeah, so there's like a hex, and you can tighten this. So let me tighten that up, because that was definitely loose. New oil filter, fuel filter. We got a shut off down there. Got our new air filter on. We're just loading this up with oil now. Alright, well, it's not running the best. You know, probably needs a carb clean, is my guess. Good morning. It's the next day, and sometimes it's always nice to just stop, think about what's going on with your project, try to diagnose it a little bit in your head. And I actually went back and watched the footage of what I recorded. I was especially interested in how the engine sounded on camera after we did the head gaskets, and definitely sounding a lot better. I was remarking about how the RPMs didn't seem high enough. When you watch the footage, it doesn't come across that way, but I could tell you it's not throttling all the way up yet, and it was running pretty good on camera. So, you know, when I was saying, oh, I need to keep adjusting, yeah, it wasn't running great. Didn't sound that bad on camera though, but I'm getting a lot of breaking up, a lot of sputtering type of thing. I can just hear that it's not right. It also, the smell, like you could tell when the mixture, fuel mixture isn't right. You know, it's choking me out a little bit in here. I'm gonna try to just do the most logical thing and go for the carburetor. And I know I was talking about that yesterday, but you know, this carburetor has been sitting for a while. This whole machine is disgusting. It would be kind of a miracle if I could get away without touching the carb. So let's get the carb off, even though it's a little bit of a pain. Let's start there, make sure we have a clean carburetor, and then see if it's any other adjustments that we need to make. Here's the carburetor removed. Just looking it over, there's a spot here. I know on some there's an adjustment that either looks like the knob was broken off, but it kind of just looks like a relief valve ball. I don't know. So it doesn't look like they're kind of like this, you know, if you could see that better. That's what it looks like on top. So there's no adjustment for anything except for idle. So that's a little odd. And these carburetors do confuse me because the replacements don't have all of this stuff here. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a fuel pump or something. I mean, our machine has a fuel pump, so I just don't know what that necessarily does. But in any case, that's the only thing so far I can see, is that there's no adjustment on it, but we'll get everything cleaned up best we can. Yeah, so this is what's going on here. Once you take that off, it's like a diaphragm with a spring. Looks a lot like a fuel pump, but it's like moving fuel from the lower end to the top end. No, I'm really not sure what that does. Well, there's a fuel line holding it on still, and I don't want to break it because it's zip tied. Looks like from the factory zip tied, but inside the carb it looks good. So that's not a good sign. I was hoping to see it all gummed up or something, but Oh well, gotta keep going here and cleaning. So I went ahead and removed this, just snipped one of the zip ties. There's a retaining clip in there for another sort of diaphragm. But here's this one removed. Looks a little wrinkled, but it actually feels pretty good. This gasket is not coming off easily. I'm worried it's gonna rip. But I do want to get in there to clean those passages, because that's pretty much where I think the issue is. So, alright, wish me luck. I'm going to try to get that off without ruining it. Okay, got that off with a razor blade. Just a little scuff here or there on the gasket, but I think we're okay. See, we do have a port we can remove, and there's lots of little pinholes, especially up there. You can't see them. But it gives me something to clean here. Carburetor's all cleaned up. Let's get it installed. And since I'm in here again, I'm making a couple adjustments. I watched a video and the spring was set to this second hole instead of this third. I had it on the third before, so I moved it down. And then I'm just going to do a governor reset, which is pretty easy. You take a 10mm socket with the carb off and the air box. You can actually get to the nut there. I know it's hard to film. I have my throttle at full throttle, but I'm going to want to pin this up, or this part to the right. And then with the nut loosed, I can get a hold of this governor linkage that goes inside the engine, and I can shift it or rotate it counterclockwise while this is pinned to full throttle, and then I'll tighten down the nut, and then we'll have our governor reset. Now we got a runaway. I love making governor adjustments. Yeah, so we're back in here. I watched another video and just redid the governor adjustment again. I think I had that correct though. But I returned this spring to the position it was in. I've watched a couple videos now and people have it in all sorts of different places, but I'm just going to return it to the location it was at when I got the machine. That could have been what was doing it, but not really sure. Someone tell me why it is that now we have a runaway engine. Well, I disconnected the throttle so that the governor's doing nothing right now. And we have a very nice idle. So I think we got the carb cleaned correctly. I just got to figure out this governor now. Alright, so the only thing I can think of right now is, it's not that you want, let's see if I can explain it. Alright, so you have your, well, I can't even film it. You have your governor arm. Okay, I was thinking it needed to be pinned all the way full throttle, and it does, but you want to make sure it's connected to the carburetor, because this arm can actually move more than this. And so I think the engine thinking full throttle was way too much. So what I'm going to do is loosen the governor cross shaft, well, the retaining nut, adjust that cross shaft again. I don't know, with the carburetor in place. Before I wasn't doing it with the carburetor in place, I was just, but I think I can actually get my fingers in there to adjust it with the carburetor in place. That's the only thing I can think of right now, because this arm moves a lot past, like I'm pushing up right now, and I'm maxed out because of this. Now if I disconnected it, I could actually push that arm up much more. So yeah, let's, I don't know if that made any sense, but I'm gonna try that adjustment. Okay, let's try this again. And I'm getting smarter too. I don't have the whole air box on. I just put the nuts that hold the carburetor on. This might be spewing a little bit of crankcase pressure, but that's okay. Well, that makes me glad. Alright, so at least we figured that out. I'm kind of back to where I am before, thinking that it's not revving up all the way, so I might continue some adjustments, even moving that spring. You know, now that we have a fully functional engine, the carburetor is clean, you know, we can do these sort of fine-tuning things now. Alright, I'm just going to document this now. I just made one little adjustment and I'm very happy with it, and I'm not going to touch it anymore. I left this spring where it was, stock. It's on the third hole up. I did return the throttle to this middle hole, where I think when I got it, it was in this most upper hole, and I did pull on this throttle cable a little to my right so that it'll draw the tension on the governor spring up a little bit more. So I'm happy with full throttle now. It's definitely purring really nice, and idle sounds good too. I got it maybe up just a little bit from where I normally like it. It doesn't seem to want to idle like really low. You know, it's very nice when you have an engine that idles super low. But I'll show you, this is completely acceptable, and engine sounds really good. Well, it's a huge sigh of relief when you get the engine running correctly, especially after rebuild. So I don't know how that comes across on camera, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of nerve-wracking for me, but everything's working correctly. Let's give this thing a little test drive. Alright, what are the chances that this deck doesn't need any work? Actually looks like it's in very nice shape. As far as paint goes, I don't think it would necessarily look any better if I paint it. So initially I'm thinking I don't need to paint the mowing deck, which is great. Our front bracket. Let's check out this belt. Belt looks fine. A little bit of noise on that one. Maybe a little noise on that one. I'm just hitting something underneath, but yeah, okay. Blade don't look good. They are very worn, so we'll need to replace the blades. But yeah, let's give this thing a power wash and see what it looks like. And you guys have seen this before. This is our hand truck or dolly that we use. I think this was purposed for 55-gallon drums, but it works great for mowing decks. This 54-inch deck is kind of crazy. It's even taller than the handles. But yeah, sure beats lugging that thing over, like carrying it by hand to where I'm gonna pressure wash it. That just is not good on the old back. So let's wheel it over. Let's use the new impact wrench that I got. I think it's 1,100 foot-pounds. I think it's pretty nice. My old one died. I gotta hold the pulley on the other side. I gotta put a wrench on it. That's what I need to do. I was happy with all the pulleys except this one. Hopefully that's the reason why. All right, let's get it installed. Okay, everything's installed, but we need to make an adjustment here because this side is just barely lifting up, but that looks very adjustable. Alright, I'm happy with that. It's looking level, and I just brought it in just a hair in the front. Well, let's see if this thing mows. Okay, a very successful first test mow. I'm getting a little bit of kinking from the blades. They're interfering with something. Not too surprised. They are aftermarket blades with a much higher lift on them. So I'm worried about that fin hitting. But I wanted to run it for a little while, see if that cleared up. I'm sure something needs to be bent back into place. There's these guides underneath on the deck that help the grass clippings to flow a certain way. So just need to, those get banged around a lot. So I want to get this thing back up into the air. Hopefully I don't have to remove the mowing deck, and we'll just nuance some metal, see if we can get it all cleared up so there's no interference. These rear tires have been losing air almost every day, so they're really not doing well. I'm going to try some automatic transmission fluid in here, and this is a good trick. I don't know if you guys have ever done that before. I do it a lot on my channel, so you might have seen it, but automatic transmission fluid swells rubber, so it really helps with small cracks, you know, especially with dry rotting and things like that. But yeah, you just add, I don't know, a couple ounces and then drive the thing around, fill it up with air, then drive it around, and you'd be surprised. Works a lot better than tire slime. Fix-A-Flat works pretty decently, but it's really expensive, so just a little ATF. Well, what a struggle it was to get this removed. Wow. I don't know what the deal was, but I mangled that one too. I didn't break anything though. Just mangled it a bit. That would not come free. Just a little tip for you about light bulbs. If you buy the type that have two nubbins on the socket part of it, if you grind off the one that's higher, the lower one you want to leave. You can see I ground off, hopefully you can see, I ground off the one that's a little higher, and then that allows you to insert it into the socket and twist it. And it doesn't seem to matter if it has two contacts on the bottom or one. The correct type of light bulbs only have this one nub, but the ones with two seem to be more common in the stores, at least. But you can make them work. Our new lifter piston came in. I didn't realize it wasn't going to come with the hardware, so I'm glad that I kept the old one for now. I misplaced the nuts, but I found some other ones that will work out fine. But yeah, I'm getting pretty tired of this hood. Right now, it's propped open with a broom again. And I'm actually not happy with the carburetor. It's always hard to demonstrate this on film, but you know, I own this machine, so I'm moving it around. Every once in a while, I'll start it up, run it, move it to this parking spot, you know, open the shed up for something else. So I'm starting this thing a lot more than you guys see. And you know, a couple times it's puffed out a lot of smoke upon startup. I kind of think the needle and seat isn't working correctly, so we're flooding a little bit, and it's not idling. Especially, it just doesn't sound very good at idle. Sometimes it'll drop real low and I'll want to stall, so I'll go back in and I'll, you know, mess with the idle adjustment screw and get it back up. But then other times you go from full throttle down to idle, and it basically makes no difference because you've jacked up the idle screw adjustment. And then you go back in there with the screwdriver. So anyway, I'm ending up fiddling around with this carburetor all the time in regards to idle. So I went out and I just bought a new carb. It should be here today. We'll see. And I was wrong about the carburetors not having... I thought the replacement carburetors didn't have the fuel pump on the side, but that is a fuel pump. Not really sure what the deal is with having a fuel pump on the side of the engine and a fuel pump on the side of the carb. But yeah, that's what we have. And the replacement carb is pretty much identical. So we'll give it a try when it gets here, and hopefully this thing will be running just perfectly. Maybe the other one could have been replaced. I mean, this is fine. You just really want it to to hold itself up. Yeah, we have a little problem with the headlight. It doesn't like to stay in there. I don't know what's going on with that. Gotta find some place for this wire to go. See, yeah, just, yep, likes to fall out. But even when you close this, I'm not gonna slam it because of that bulb, but there is no actual latch on this hood. So the previous owner removed it. All right, looking at these light bulb sockets, this one's broken. I thought the tabs were good, but they're actually broken off. And then this one's clearly broken. So I fished these out of my stash. We'll just replace them so they stay in there. Ooh, that's a lot better. Nice. Gotta test it. Oh! See, that's why you gotta test it. I really gotta pin this up somewhere like there. So if you yank on the hood, plug comes out. Since we're all about the details on this headlight harness for some reason, got a nice little zip tie there. That runs there. I like that. All right, well, let's cold start this thing, see what it behaves like. Maybe it'll be something you guys can notice. Not really sure. So that was fine. Started up without smoke, had full throttle, had a decent idle. It's a little high, but before I was having trouble. You know, get full throttle, you bring down to idle, and it doesn't really come down, and it takes a while. And then finally it does, and it's like sputtering. All right, but this hood is going to be a problem now. You go over bumps and this thing's going to want to do that. We have to figure out some sort of latch. The next day here, my carburetor arrived. As you can tell, it looks just like the one that's on there. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say or do. I think we've had ourselves a pretty good project. And I'm just going to put this carburetor on and hopefully that does it. And I'm satisfied with the way the engine's running. We'll see. Okay guys, that makes me really happy that it's running better. I really can't tell you, just the fumes coming off of it, you can kind of tell when it's running with a poor fuel mix, and this is much better. I know it's an aftermarket carb, but for me, they tend to work pretty good, especially for the Kohlers. And still need to figure out a bungee system. I'm gonna go to Tractor Supply and look for a short bungee cord that I can wrap here, and then we'll just do the 2 hooks under there, and that will hold this down. I think that's gonna be just fine. But yeah, it does bounce up. Now that we have a good lift piston, it is lifting the hood up on its own while you drive, so that's a bit of a problem. But anyway, I'm gonna get this cleaned up one more time, you know, especially the airbox cover, and like here I just never got to cleaning this. So the engine cover at one point I power washed by itself, but I don't think I really cleaned up the outside of the engine. Yeah, you could tell like I didn't power wash all of these things. So just gonna get to that, and then this thing will be completely clean. I did put some automatic transmission fluid in the rear tires because they were losing some air, and that's much better now. They were going flat within a couple hours. I don't know if I filmed any of that. All right, let's get it finally cleaned up all the way. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to run. All right, strike that. I didn't buy anything. I just modified a bungee. I'll show you what I did. Let me take it apart. All right, so it's just a bungee cord cut short. I'm glad I modified one because I would have never been able to figure out how short this needed to be. I thought it needed to be a foot, but it's not that. So a little hard to see, but you thread this through. You don't have to do this every time. I'm just showing you how to install it, how I installed it. But yeah, the bungee just stays up in there. I don't know if you could see that. But yeah, just threaded it through there, right? It's not going anywhere. And you shut the hood. And then it's easiest to latch one. And then just pull the other one down a little bit. There you go. Well, I was working on this one at the same time. I decided not to make an episode out of it or whatever. I was just working on it. I acquired this one quite a while ago, and I don't even remember much about it, except the guy said it was throwing a belt all the time. I fixed that, no problem. Had the typical valve cover gasket leak because it's got the Kohler Courage, but it's not cracked. And the sump bolts were really tight. I tightened them down some more, did a full service on it, did a bunch of interesting modifications to make this bagger system work. Some additional plastic. But this is really solid, and before it wasn't. So I know it looks a little funny, but I'm actually really happy with the way that came out. So yeah, just wanted to show this because I think this will be pretty nice actually. I'm gonna get this one listed for sale now, and we'll take you back to this. All right guys, I'm really glad that this project came out the way it did. This thing has 517 hours on it, so it needed a little bit of love, but it's also been pretty well used. And I know it's missing the belt guides on the deck. The previous owner just didn't give them to me or lost them himself. I'm not really sure. So that might be something that's a problem for a potential buyer, or maybe I'll try to purchase those. I'm not really sure. And I'm not doing any paint to this thing, so it's gonna look the way it looks. The seat's gonna look the way it looks. And again, I'm really happy with the way it runs, and for a kind of summer tractor, you know, because the sales start slowing down from here on out, the prices start going way down. I need to stay competitive with prices, and usually my tractors end up being a little uglier as the summer goes on. But thank you guys for tuning in. I mean, well, I think this is kind of funny because someone made a comment, have you ever seen an engine with 2 blown head gaskets? I said no, and sure enough, the next project I work on is a Kohler V-twin with 2 blown head gaskets. So you gotta love the way that sort of thing works out sometimes. But thank you guys for watching. Please like the video and please subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out. And we'll catch you guys on the next tractor video.